Yeah, you played college softball at Medina.
Yep.
All 4 years.
Yes.
How was that? How did you?
I loved it, and if I could go back and play 4 more years, I would do it in a heartbeat.
Really? Seriously, what position did you play?
I was a catcher, and then I played a little bit of third and first.
Okay.
And my freshman year, I played right field.
Okay. Good.
It's my first time playing outfield ever.
All right. So now, being a collegiate athlete, especially a young lady, what's some advice you would have just preparing for just the strength and conditioning, the practices, and maybe living on campus, away from home, and taking your life into your own hands?
Having been through it, I can give better advice because when I was in college, I didn't do these things. But now that I know better and know more about my body and I've been working out a lot more, I would definitely say to take care of yourself. Obviously, for a lot of people, it's the first time you're away from home, so it's a new adventure, and you want to hang out and party, and you don't have a curfew, and that's all fun and games. But when you're there for a sport, it's really important to take care of yourself and your body and make sure that you're eating healthy, working out, treating your body with respect. We didn't have a great strength and conditioning program when I was there. It has gotten better. But I would say you really need to stay focused with strengthening yourself. I think I would have been a much better athlete while I was there had I had a strength and conditioning program or did some type of a workout. But I don't think a lot was known about it back then, and there's so many more gyms like this that you can get that personal one-on-one or with a team strength and conditioning. So definitely use people you know and take advantage of places like this.
You're going to be training all sorts of ways, in strength and conditioning, practicing games and travel, in class, staying up and doing homework. But the days that you could actually rest, like we just go out and party and come home at 3 o'clock, and if you truncate sleep, it doesn't really help recovery and necessarily performance as a college athlete. But you had your first ACL injury when?
When I was in 8th grade.
In 8th grade, really? We'll talk about that a little bit. Like, what happened? What were you playing?
I was playing basketball, and I was playing defense, and the girl got around me, so I went to turn really quickly to go, drop my shoulder and go, and when I turned, my upper body had a lot of momentum and my lower body had none, and I just heard a pop and fell down and started screaming, and my coaches carried me off, and then my parents were like, "You're fine, it's just a sprain, you'll be okay." And then the next day I was still in a lot of pain, so they ended up taking me to the ER, and they diagnosed me with I believe it was an MCL tear. Again, this was years ago, so I could be wrong, but I think it was MCL tear. But they wanted me to go see an orthopedic surgeon, so I went a couple days later, and he was like, "Nope, it's an ACL tear." So then I started crying because my brother was older and he was in high school and he had played with some people that had torn their ACLs, and I knew I was out for 6 to 9 months, and I'd played sports all my life, so to not be able to play for that amount of time was killing me. So I started crying, and then because I was so young, they didn't want to do surgery because I was still growing. And if you do surgery when you're still growing, you can ruin your growth plates. So I waited. I did some rehab. I got the ACL brace and was able to keep playing. And I tore it in November, and then I played until July or August. And I was at a basketball camp, did a pivoting move, and it gave out on me again. And it swelled up really bad, so I went back to see my doctor. And at that point, he was like, "We have to do surgery." So I had surgery the August before my freshman year of high school.
Wow. It's non-contact.
Right.
Okay, so it's basically your foot glued to the floor, you turn, and that's really common in young ladies, 8th grade to 30-something.
Yeah.
And so when you went through so you had your surgery. Obviously, I'm pretty sure you don't remember what your surgery was, but how was the recovery? What are some challenges you had coming out of surgery? In the first 4 weeks, month 2, 3, 4, 5?
The first time I went to therapy, which I think was a week after my surgery, was awful. And if you've ever gone through an ACL surgery, you know they do.
I don't want to.
They do the range of motion, and they make you bend it for the first time. And after you get out of surgery, you're in an immobilizer that's straight for, depending on the surgeon, for a week or however long. So you haven't bent that knee or done anything with that, and they make you bend it, and it's the worst pain ever. And in 8th grade, or I guess 9th grade, it was the first serious injury I've ever had, and in the first type of pain I've ever really been in. So it was difficult the first time.
Yeah.
And then going to school, and freshman year is an important year, and you're meeting all these new people. I knew a handful of people that I went to high school with. So that was rough because you're going in on crutches, and everyone's like, who's this girl? She's in this big old brace and she's got crutches on. So not only were there physical challenges, but not necessarily mental, but social challenges, like you're trying to make new friends and start a new school, at a new school. So that was kind of a difficult time too. But there are mental challenges as well with any type of surgery.
Emotional, did you ever get to a point where you were discouraged along the way? And how did that feel?
Yes and no. So I was very focused, and I was like, I want to get back to softball because I knew at a young age that I wanted to play college softball. So I was like, this is going to hinder my chance at doing that. So my focus was to get back in time for softball season. I was also a volleyball player, so I really wanted to get back for volleyball. And I missed volleyball tryouts by like 3 weeks, and I was so upset about it because I'm like, it's my freshman year, I can't play, and I was like, this is how I'm gonna meet people and make friends, and I wasn't able to. So that kind of set me back a little bit because I was upset about missing it and not being able to play. But then I was like, all right, softball, pre-season, preconditioning starts in a couple months, so let's refocus and get back and get stronger in time for softball to start. So I don't think in 8th grade, I don't think there was as many emotional challenges as maybe now that I've gotten older. Yeah.
So the second time you tore your ACL, tell me about that.
I was 22 or 23. I was playing slow pitch softball. I just got done with playing college softball, and I was on first base, and the guy behind me hit a ball that I was like, that's a double for sure. So I'm like, I got to get to third for him. And as I was almost to third, I could see the ball coming at like right by my head. And I was like, crap, I'm going to get thrown out. So I tried to turn back and go back to second base. And as I turned, I'm not even sure, I think my foot slipped, and the way it turned, the way I turned, I just heard a pop, and I knew immediately what it was. Non-contact again. Nobody touched me until after I was down. And they were like, they didn't know what to do because they still had to tag me out, to end the inning or whatever. I know. He was like, I'm really sorry. So yeah, that one I knew immediately what happened. I tried to get back up and get out to play again, and my teammates helped me to the bench, and then I tried to walk back out to first base. And as I was leaving the dugout, my knee just gave out on me, and I was like, nope, I'm done.
Yeah. So this is the same leg?
Opposite leg. So the first one was my left leg, the second one was my right leg.
Yeah, and that's like a common trend. A lot of times, your reconstructed leg becomes your good leg. And I mean, patterns of PT, and whether we're focusing on one leg, both legs, but generally speaking, the injury, risk factors that are present in the leg that was torn are present in the other leg.
Right.
But I don't know why. Generally speaking, in PT models, they never really treat both legs at the same time. They just focus on the one that's injured. But no, so now you're on your second ACL on your other leg, and you're 22,
23. Yeah.
So at that point in life, what are some challenges that you had to overcome? Because now you're a young professional, you're working, you're doing different things. So can you speak about those things?
So I am a dental assistant. I was dental assisting at that point, so that's a lot of walking. Yeah. So that was a challenge in itself because you can't really walk right away with that. So I only took 3 weeks off of work, which probably wasn't enough. When I first came back to work, I had just started walking the day before, only because I knew I was going back to work, and I had to be able to walk a little bit. So, but you got to pay bills too. So, you have to your health or the bills. So you kind of got to figure that out. So I went back to work. Definitely different than when I was younger and in school and didn't have to worry about working.
Yeah.
So you have to worry about scheduling PT and making sure you're spending time at home doing all your exercises in order to get back. It was a different surgeon who did it, a different type of surgery too. So there's always different.
What was your first one?
Was a hamstring.
Hamstring tendon, and your second one was?
Cadaver.
Cadaver, okay.
Yeah. So that was a completely different type of surgery. I couldn't even start PT until like 3 weeks after, because I think my doctor told me because they want the cadaver to integrate into your body before.
There's a rejection period.
Yeah. So that was even way different than the first time. So like first time was a week. The second time was 3 weeks. So that was a big difference. And yeah, the range of motion wasn't, I assume, I don't remember, but I assume it wasn't the same because I was mobilized for so long. But yeah, it was difficult like, working and not being able to go to PT whenever my parents were able to take me. Emotionally, that might have been the hardest one, just because I was like, are you kidding me? I played all 4 years of college softball, didn't get hurt, and now I'm playing slow pitch and I tear another ACL. And I think you go through it once, you're like, okay, it's fine. You go through it a second time, it's kind of like, seriously, why me? You know, that's kind of the attitude I had for a while.
Right. And then what about pain management? And I know, like, so sometimes people just don't understand, like, this, ACL, you know, and that's it. So they got surgery. You know, talk about some of the, you know, the things you have to do. I mean, there's the icing machines and, you know, constant icing and then opiates. Now you have to take all these things as a 3-year-old person.
Yeah.
You know, speak about that.
You have to be very careful with what they give you, especially nowadays with the opioid crisis. It's very real and very serious. I don't like taking medicine, and I don't eat for headaches, cramps, whatever. I don't take medicine unless I'm dying. So I don't think for me it was that big of a deal. Obviously, I took my antibiotics and all those like anti-inflammatory drugs. But those aren't opioids. He gave me, I think, Vicodin for that, so my second surgery, and I think I took 2. I also got a nerve block, my second surgery, which just blocks your whole nerve, so you're not feeling that pain for at least 24 hours, so I think that was helpful too. If I hadn't had that, maybe I would have needed to rely more on the Vicodin. But like I said, for me, it wasn't as big of a deal as it could be for some people, but you hear stories all the time about people going in for surgeries and then they get addicted to drugs. So it is a very serious thing doctors have to, and patients have to be aware of and make sure they're not abusing anything.
The third time you tore your ACL. Tell me about that. I'm very familiar with this story.
So
I probably can tell it.
you probably could.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I was here and I had just finished a boot camp class, and then I think you were the one who suggested we play dodgeball.
I know, I regret it.
You had somebody go out and buy dodgeballs or
we
balls, whatever, to play.
Kids.
And I think they were like 10 or 12-year-olds. They were conditioning for baseball or something.
You wanted to blast them, though.
Well, I'm competitive. I'm going to win. So I went to go throw the ball, and there was a kid on my right and a kid on my left, and I was trying to be fancy. And I was facing the kid on my right, and I was like, I'm going to switch it up and throw at the kid on my left. And when I went to try and go throw it, similar to my first one, I think I had a lot of upper body and my lower body was just planted so good that twisted and fell down and started crying and screaming and scared everybody.
Yeah, it was so funny. Those kids were like, all like, yeah, oh, and then like they all left.
Yeah, when I was finally able to take my hands off my eyes, everyone was gone. I was like, okay.
Well, and I think I remember, like, we work so hard to, like, prevent ACLs and a lot of the athletes, especially young women that we train, and just seeing it in real time. And then I think I told you, I was like, no, it's a sprain, you'll be all right.
You told me I hyperextended it.
Hyperextended it, it's okay.
And I tried to believe you. I was like, it's not an ACL, it can't be.
No, but then when you started, just, you had a hard time walking, I was kind of like, oh, damn.
Yeah. So I got into the doctor the next day, and I saw this one was a little bit harder with insurances. I saw the first doctor, and he was like, I think it's a meniscus tear. I was pretty certain it was another ACL. So I got an MRI, and then came back ACL tear and a meniscus tear. So then I had to go to another doctor because the first doctor I went to doesn't do ACLs. So I went to the second doctor. He was like, yep, surgery. And I ended up getting a second opinion, and he was like, absolutely, ACL, let's do surgery. So I went with the second opinion doctor. But yeah, it was.
So now let's talk about time span and recovery. So you had 3 to really pull information from and say,
Yeah.
wow, this was horrible, this was good. Recovery time here was longer, shorter. Like, out of the 3, which one was the least recovery time?
The first one.
Okay.
I think because I was so young,
Absolutely.
you recover a little quicker. I think it was 5.5 months from surgery to the day I was released to play.
Yeah.
But they've also learned so much more about ACLs that they are trying to be more proactive and not having another ACL tear in the same person.
Absolutely.
That they are doing more with PT. And my doctor recommended to do personal training or home exercise program, something on your own. The last ACL, my doctor recommended that. So I think they know more about it now, and they know kind of what to look for. I also have to do a return to sports test. And they're making most athletes do that now before they come back. So I think things have evolved, and maybe, if they knew what they knew back then when I was in 8th grade, I might not have been released in 5.5 months or whatever it was.
Too, I think if you were a 30-something-year-old woman who tore an ACL back then, it would have probably been worse. To some degree,
because they're not as advanced.
Evolution, of care has gotten so much better.
Right.
Now, if you had to rank them as far as like best ACL injury, or just experience and pain management, just different side effects from medicine, because no one really ever thinks about the full echelon of things that come from an ACL injury. Like, what was the easiest one to deal with?
Probably this most recent one. Because I've had the experience and I was older, so I kind of knew what to expect and what I needed to do to get back. I also, they only gave me, I think they gave me 8 oxy. So they were more proactive too with the opioid crisis. They only gave me, if they would take it only if necessary, and they gave me a bunch of other drugs to take multiple times a day. But their regimen is to help people not get addicted. Like, they're trying to get away from giving out any opioids, and I was on a lot of drugs. There was a lot, but that helped with the pain management. And I was never really in a lot of pain. A week, 5 days after my surgery, I decided to go to a wedding. And the next morning I was in a lot of pain, but that was my own fault because I was, I wasn't walking on it, but no dancing. Wasn't walking on it, but it was a lot more activity than I had done. And I had started cutting back on my meds, so that was the only time I was in a lot of pain this last time. The first one, I'm 13 years old, like, I don't know what to expect. I don't know how to handle it. So that might have been the worst just because I was so young. The second one, probably I would rank it in the middle as far as pain. Recovery-wise, even though this most recent one was my longest recovery, I think it was easiest because I knew what I needed to do.
Good. Now, if you look at, young people now, 13 to 18, involved in sports, want to get to college, what kind of advice would you have in preparation, for the demand, but necessarily really on the injury prevention side of things?
Definitely do some kind of strength and conditioning program, like it is, whether it's here or somewhere else. I think it's very important to strengthen all the muscles in your body, not just the knees or the legs, but even shoulder injuries and baseball and pitchers. I think the stronger you can be, the better. The healthier you're going to be, the better career you're going to have. Whether it's, you're only playing for fun into high school or if you're going to go to the pros somewhere. I think it's very important to eat healthy so that you stay in shape, and then work out as often as you can within means. You don't want a 13-year-old to go squatting 350 pounds, but to get advice from you or Eris or Chris or everybody else here, and really watch how they're developing and what they're lifting and the exercises they're doing, I think is really helpful.
I think a lot of times kids come in and it's crazy, not to bash high school coaches of strength, but when we look at just form and mechanics and how they're moving, and then really, like, just not even to bash on the kids today, kids now are moving less coordinated than we used to when we were younger.
Yeah.
Because of the sedentary lifestyles, technology, and different things like that.
Yeah.
And you're almost teaching these elite football, soccer, and softball kids to really run again and be coordinated.
Right.
So,
I think that comes from specializing.
yeah.
I think one of the worst things an athlete can do is specializing in one sport.
Say it again. Say it again.
I think the worst thing an athlete can do is specializing in one sport.
Oh, good. Yeah. And why is that?
Because you're only training those muscles that you use in those sports. Like
Yes.
I played basketball, volleyball, and softball growing up. I stopped playing basketball after my first ACL injury because that wasn't important to me. I wanted to play softball in college, so that was my goal. So I was like, I'll stop playing basketball since I did my ACL, twice in basketball. I was like, I'm gonna not worry about that anymore. But you use so many different muscles in every sport, whether it be soccer, golf, whatever. There's a lot of different muscles, and if you only play soccer, you're only using those muscles. You're not using the muscles you would use in basketball, So I think it's, and the socialization aspect of it as well, I think it's a hindrance for if you specialize.
And we always like to say too is like not only are kids specializing in a specific sport, they're specializing in a specific position.
Yeah.
So if you're a right mid, you play that in travel at club, high school. If you're
Right.
a pitcher, you're doing that for travel ball and high school ball. And there's not a good variety of of skills picked up on proprioceptive wise and balance.
Right.
So be a high school soccer goalie. You
Right.
just do it all.
Yeah, I mean, I was primarily a catcher, but I could play. I pitched in high school as well. I could play first, third, short. Like I'm confident in playing anywhere. Catching was just what I loved, and that's what I wanted to do. So obviously, I spent the most time at that. But I also made sure to work on the other skills, and that's part of the reason I was able to play my freshman year at Madonna. They had two catchers ahead of me, but I was able to hit the ball. So I focused a lot on that, and they put me in right field. Never played outfield in my life, but I had worked on it before. My coach would stay after in high school and hit me fly balls, and I learned to do that. So I was able to not be a great right fielder, but I could get the job done. And if I hadn't done that or hadn't worked on other positions, I wouldn't have played my freshman year. And as any athlete that plays in college, it's difficult if you go to your freshman year and you don't play at all because you're used to being the star at your high school. So it was difficult, in the beginning, not playing. So I think specializing in one thing, one sport, one position, I think it's a big hindrance on all athletes.
Yeah. So this segment should be called 3 Times I Tore My ACL. Once at Pryde, but we're not gonna go there.
Once because Ivan wanted to play dodgeball.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
But no, thank you for coming in and talking to us about. It's difficult, but I think people can glean from the opportunity. Well, there's an opportunity to listen to someone who's done that, been there, and then kind of figure out something that they can do. But, no, I appreciate it.
Yeah.
You're
welcome.
And sorry we tore your leg.
It's okay.
Cool.
Just don't tear my other one.
Yeah.